Be sure and tell him Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie, we're here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Sent Us podcast, your favorite podcast where two Sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an I-E.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
What's
We're here.
Alrighty, so in January, my choice this
Week-ish.
guys.
However long we want
Yep.
to wait is fine.
And don't know if you guys knew this, but last 2 months, Sweeti Jimi has been home on paternity leave. So in the state of Massachusetts, there's like a cool plan now where you can take up to 12 weeks if you have a birth of a child, and if your family member is sick, whatever. Anyway, the state pays you a percentage of your salary. Real cool, right?
Dope.
Just started this year. So really handy that we had Sweetie Jr. and we were able to take advantage of this. So he was off the last 2 months and he was, playing, let's say, Mr. Mom. So I thought it'd be fitting to do the movie Mr. Mom for the podcast as it's his last week of being Mr.
Mom.
And yeah, so I was like, this movie came to mind as, we'll talk about it, but a gender role reversal film that was popular in the 80s and one that our dad, talked about a lot, I feel like.
I don't know if he talked about it a lot or I have a memory of Uncle Mike and Dad stumbling upon this movie during Thanksgiving or something, and they watched one scene and were cracking up. That might just be it.
Yeah, maybe. I remember it. I remember two scenes from this movie. Either we had rented it.
It was probably, I'm telling you, it was probably this time. You were probably there. You walked in, you saw it.
Yeah, maybe that. I don't know. So I just remembered a couple scenes, but I always thought the premise was funny. It stars Michael Keaton, who I love. And I thought it was, time for a rewatch.
You know what Michael Keaton's real name is?
Michael. Wait, we had this for Michael Douglas.
Yeah, Michael Douglas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
wild.
Is Keaton his middle name?
Just wild. I don't
Maybe
know.
Just made it up.
Maybe made it up. I don't know.
I would also just make up a last name
Sure.
because I just didn't want to use my other one because it was
Roy
too well of
Stuka.
another actor. Anyway, so Mr. Mom is from 1983, the year I was born. Yeah. It stars Michael Keaton, who is such a great actor and, has so much range, I feel like. And he is really kept working through the years. Good for him, right?
Definitely. I think he had a bit of a, I don't know if it was a lull, but he definitely came back with Birdman.
Between Multiplicity and Birdman.
No, he did other things. And he was a bad guy in Spider-Man. I think he had done things here and there.
Yeah.
But I think Birdman was his re-emergence. Yeah. You always have once you get nominated for an Oscar again, you're all right, they're back.
Oh,
They're
totally.
back.
I really enjoy his range, as I said. Do comedy, can do drama, clearly action if he's doing Spider-Man shit. But yeah, he's great in this. Was his first time he was top billed in a movie, I guess. He had been in this movie Night Shift prior to this, where I guess he got a lot of attention. Never have seen that movie. Read the premise about how he works in a morgue and runs a prostitution ring out of it.
So it's not about
Sounds wild.
vampires.
No.
Okay.
Kind of want to watch it now. Sounds wild.
Yeah.
But he's very funny in this and a perfect Mr. Mom. His wife is played by Teri Garr, popular crossword clue, as Sweetie said when we were watching.
Actress Garr. Teri. It's
Or
always
is it, or
T-E-R-I.
actress Polo. Teri Polo is one.
Who's that?
Teri Polo is the wife in The Parents. Fokker, Gaylord Fokker. What is that movie? Meet the Parents.
Well, Yeah, but the clue is it doesn't matter because it's like what you're
It's always
guessing
Teri.
Terry
Yeah.
or wait, what did you say?
Polo is her name, last name.
I've
She
never
spells
seen. I've never
Teri
seen
the
that
same
one.
way.
I've never seen that clue.
Teri.
Maybe that's a Monday puzzle, and I was talking about this Sunday puzzle.
Here's a question: if your name is Teri, is it short for Teresa or
Usually.
something else?
Probably, or maybe it's one of those people that like the nickname is their name,
True, or it's kind of like Jimmy with an I.
and maybe
Teri
it's not
with
even
an
her
I.
real name, and she just picked it because somebody else had her same exact name, and she had to change
true.
it.
True. Maybe
Just like
she was Teri
Michael
Polo.
Douglas, aka Keaton.
Right. No, totally.
Right.
Randomly, Christopher Lloyd is in this. Small part, not on for very long, but funny. Jeffrey Tambor as the crooked boss.
Turns out to be a bad guy. Who knew?
Yeah. But also like kind of random role. And then a couple other people I'm going to name. I'm not even going to say their real names. I'm just saying what we know them from. Always fun. I don't mean to like mean their career, but this is what, is more fun. Anyway, the secretary from Ferris Bueller, the redhead.
Love her.
Yeah. Funny. She's funny in this. She's like a checkout person
She pops
at
up
the grocery
everywhere.
store. She does. She's one of those character actors, just like all around. Cousin Catherine from the National Lampoon franchise. And Colonel Mustard
Colonel
from
Mustard.
Clue, who is the skeezy rape artist boss.
Rape artist, such a rape. Talk about rape artist.
Yeah.
Wow.
So upon reading kind of the stats in this on IMDb, we have found out, as we do, that like many 80s movies, it was written by John Hughes. Okay, if a movie's in the 80s, like there's 50% chance that's going to be written by
He
John
had something
Hughes
to
at
do
this
with
point.
it, probably. It could have been his story. He told somebody or something, or
Yeah.
he wrote it.
Right. So I guess what happened with this one is he had some experience where his wife was out of town and he had to take care of the kids, and it was some like disastrous weekend, mind you, not like months taking over. And he told this story to someone like in the circles of Hollywood, and she's like, "That would make a funny movie. Like, can you write that script?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." Wrote it, flew it to Hollywood. Boom, movies are made.
Done.
I mean, that guy, anything that guy touched was like gold.
Yeah.
Right? 80s, John Hughes. It is directed by a man named Stan Dragotti, who directed none other than She's Out of Control, one of the most busted movies we've ever covered on this podcast.
Really? Wait, it was?
Well, it was just so crazy. It was a lunatic movie. The guy was a lunatic.
I know. I'm having trouble like remembering. Wait, who's the daughter in that? Heather Graham?
Tony Danza. The daughter is in like a lot of different 80s movies.
I'm confusing it with License to Drive, I think, because
Yeah.
Heather Graham's in that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay.
Also kind of a crazy.
We'll have to go
busted
back and
movie.
re-listen to that episode.
Yeah. No, Shadow Control is actually pretty good because the Tony Danza character is just so he's so crazy protective of his daughter. It's sketch.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Total creep show.
Creepskate.
Creepskate.
And then produced by Aaron Spelling,
Aaron!
who is Sweetie's new favorite person.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, Aaron Spelling had a lot to do with a lot of television shows that you probably love. I believe didn't he like start one of the main networks or something, like maybe NBC. I don't know. He had something to do with Saved by the Bell too. That's why Tori was on it. But most famous probably for starting Beverly Hills 90210, and of which his daughter stars in. Though not created. You know who created 90210?
Who?
The guy who did Sex in the City.
Oh.
Ken
Starr?
Starr, yeah.
Wait, not Ken Starr.
Wait, who's that? Is that a tabloid person?
Michael
No.
Starr.
Michael Starr.
Wait, no.
Michael
That's
Michael
Jimmy's friend.
Patrick King. I don't know.
Darren
Starr. We got there. Yeah, I think
Wow.
he actually created it, so good
Smart
for him.
fella.
But yeah, Aaron Spelling, who knew?
Yeah, Aaron Spelling produced this. Apparently, he said, I want to make movies that I can take my kids to," and this was like one
I
of
think
them.
his big one was The Love Boat, right?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Hello, Gopher
You know.
and Doc. Permission to come aboard,
Sir.
So yeah, very sweet movie. It's like the gender role reversal movie is like kind of hard to swallow in some ways, and they seem a little outdated now because I don't know, like it's not as necessary to do or something.
Yeah,
like, why do you think people don't see those anymore?
It's probably not necessary to do anymore, but I guess it's still. Maybe it is. I mean, like it's
Maybe
not
it is.
unnecessary. It's just like I think it is good to see something from the other person's perspective.
Walk in someone else's
shoes, as Atticus Finch, would tell you to do before judging someone. And I guess you could also classify this movie as like a swap right? Like a Freaky Friday almost, because it's like you're seeing things from the other person's. You thought it would be so easy. You get in that other person's shoes, and you're like, these shoes are too big,
Right.
or these shoes are too small. I have a blister, and
Or I
like,
hate these
they fucking
shoes.
suck.
Get me the fuck out of here.
Taking it too far with this shoe metaphor, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I was not okay. So here's the thing, guys, about having a baby, is that your attention wanes because you're looking at that cute baby, and then you like miss shit, and you're like, fuck. And then I had to go back and read the synopsis on IMDb.
Yeah,
So-
we had to watch it with Sweetie Junior
But
tonight.
from what I watched, I really enjoyed it.
It was really sweet. It was a sweet hour and a half, though it did feel kind of long. We paused it, and I was like, oh my God, 30 minutes left. Like, what will happen? But it was pretty funny. They made some good points, I think, about, the stay-at-home mom position and what that's like and how hard it really is.
And I guess they kind of make also a thing about like, hey guys, you can both work at the end kind of thing. Like, guess what? You both like working, you both like your kids. There's a way to have it both, kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, which seemed nice and modern. And there's a female cable repairman, which I really just want to take a shout out to. Progressive. Awesome.
Which was an episode of Full House actually also had a female cable man. Cable woman, cable person. Maybe it was a trend in the 80s. They're like, we need more women in service roles. So, okay, all right, let's do it.
But my memory of this is, I think like dads from the 80s really laughing at the hijinks that Michael Keaton got himself into, trying to do just like...
'Cause he's like a man's man. Yeah. Like beer, is nice, but also likes a beer and sports or something.
Yeah, and he just... And the thing is, this one, it wasn't that he was like a bad dad or anything. He was... Bad dad,
yeah. Bad dad.
He just like was never home because his job was like... he works at like a car plant or something, so he was pretty demanding, so he was just like not around a lot.
Not during the day. I didn't get the sense that he was like overworked, or I guess that's what they're talking about at the beginning. Maybe they like hadn't slept, but I thought that was because they were nervous. I don't know. It seemed like she didn't have to work because he was working, so she was just home, and he was working during the day. So
she had a college degree, but whatever, we'll go into this. Anyway, so good 80s romp, totally recommend. Let's talk about it.
Cool.
It's time for the Sweetie synopsis.
Yeah, sweeties.
Dang, I forgot a quote.
Oh, I thought that was the quote. I was like, wow, I don't remember that. Okay,
there was some good one about like saggy boobs and your back hurts or something.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're
lady describing
a
being
mom. Yeah,
I'm like, totally true.
Probably something Kenny said. Kenny's the best character, and I wanted more Kenny. I'll be honest.
Kenny.
Jack Butler is a car engineer person in Detroit, Motor City, if you don't know. So just so you know, Sweetie and I thought this movie took place in New York until like more than halfway in through the movie, we saw a license plate. We're like, oh shit, it's Detroit.
We're like, who lives in Michigan? And then we're like, oh, they do.
Detroit.
But they pan in the city, and it's these huge skyscrapers. And okay, I've never been to Detroit. So
the
who knows,
only city with skyscrapers.
Well, I mean, it looked like the World Trade Center. It was so tall.
It's not that tall. I thought it was Madison Avenue because it was like an ad agency. So we thought it was New York City, and it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Sorry, I got a tickle. So Jack Butler, like I said, car engineer. I guess he designs cars, and then he like oversees their being put together, production or whatever. And the thing. Here's what I'll say about car factories: a lot of sparks. I'm always like very nervous. Same thing with like Adventures in Babysitting when they're like in the chop shop. Where are all those sparks going? Are they go? They seem so close to the sparks. Is it an optical illusion? I don't know. But he like. It stressed me out because he's wearing like a business suit. Like that stuff's probably flammable. I don't know.
All they have is like a smock on.
I know.
Or coats.
These like
white coats.
Teeny little goggles. Like that's gonna save you from like bursting into flames. But anyways, so bad news at the car factory. Jack and his two buddies are actually getting furloughed. Apparently, will get severance, and then will get their job back at some point. Maybe, I don't know. So he's like, fix. So he goes home. His wife and kids like already know for some reason. I don't know why. Did somebody call ahead and was like, hey, just so you know, we laid off your husband. So his wife, Carolyn, decides, hey, I have a college degree. I would have advertising experience. Like maybe I'll try to get a job too. Just trying to pitch in for the family. Why not? It's a very nice thing to do. Nice thing to do. But Jack's like a dick about it and is like, like you could get a job. And she's like, wow, thanks for the vote of confidence, douche. So then he makes like a bet that like he'll get a job before her. He bets like $100 or something. So they cut to like she's getting dressed ready to go to work in the morning. So she won.
Yeah, he's like, take the money. She's like,
Go,
I don't want the money.
Carolyn.
Take the money.
You go, girl.
Yeah,
you
so,
go.
So good for her,
Yeah.
and she gets a job at this advertising. It's very
yeah.
highbrow advertising
Well
agency.
done.
Not in Madison
And
Avenue,
Jack, nothing. But
in Detroit. Right. So he's got to stay home with the kids. He's been also looking for a job, but no bites. So someone's got to stay home with the kids, and they have 3 kids: a baby. Mabel?
Megan?
Mabel?
I hope not. I hope
Martha?
it's not
Something with
Mabel.
an
I
N.
thought it was Megan.
Kenny and what's the other kid's name?
Michael. No. Let me just
Clearly just Kenny. Just
fact
won our-
check.
won our little
Alex.
hearts.
Alex, Kenny, and Megan. I was
Megan.
right.
Okay.
Every child in the 80s is named Megan.
Yeah. So like the baby, Megan's supposed to be 6 months. She looks older than that. Kenny, the middle
she's
one, is
walking.
probably
She's not
like
6 months.
4, and Alex goes to school, so he's
like
probably like 6.
6
yeah.
or 7, I think. Yeah.
And they are adorable kids.
Sweet.
They have a really
Sweeties.
fun family, and they love like the mom and dad like both so much. So that makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah. No bad dads or moms in this family. That's refreshing. It's refreshing not to have that. Yeah. So his first stab at being a mom doesn't go so hot. It's a disaster, let's say. It's a disaster. He overfills the washing machine. It like flies out of the sockets and is like, I don't know, rampaging around the basement. He's like fucking, the vacuum has a mind of its own. He can't figure it out. It also is like attacking things. He doesn't know how to do like fucking shit. And he like leaves, he goes to the grocery store, leaves the kids in the car and like runs off. And then the kids are missing. And then he leaves the baby in the car, and then she goes. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was nuts. And he misses school drop off. There's a certain like protocol on how to do it, and he's not listening to the little son who's like, "Dad, you got to do it this way. Mom does it this way." He's like, "I'm doing it the Jack Butler way."
Yeah.
And he just totally messes up. And then the grocery store, it's just like all old ladies and like stay-at-home moms just like yelling at him like in the deli line. And he's not like ordering meat fast enough.
Well, like,
he's knocking over cans.
He doesn't know
like,
anything
produce.
about. Like, you can't just say, "I want cheese." Like, where have you been?
Right. So he's just the cluelessness of, okay, I took for granted that like stuff just shows up in my house and I've never had to like figure out how it gets there or how to get it, etc. So yeah, he's a mess.
He's a mess, and then he's like,
as one person anyone would be who's never done that stuff, I guess. But,
and like
but
sad.
he's never ordered anything from the deli in his whole life.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, he didn't need to go to the deli when he was like in college.
Right. You've never been to a grocery
the
store?
dining hall or something. I don't know. But he's basically kind of starts to like resent it at first and is like, you know, probably sad because he got laid off. So he's like depressed about that. But then he's just kind of like being a dick. So he's like, I'm just going to binge watch these soap operas and drink beer all day and like be a terrible person. So he does that for a while. And then he has this like terrible dream or nightmare where this like woman, Joan, who's like one of his like mom friends, is very attracted to him, and so he imagines in this dream that like she comes over to seduce him, and then his wife comes home, finds them, and like shoots him in the dick or something. So
and dies.
And dies. And so he wakes up from that and is like, I gotta get my act together. So then this is what we call, Sweetie and I like to call the like getting shit done montage of like do.
And prior to this, his wife had like said like, I like really was in your shoes too. Like I didn't really want to be a stay-at-home mom either. And he's like, why didn't you tell me you were so miserable? And she's like, I wasn't miserable. I did learn to love it because I found I had a purpose in doing it. So I was like raising these kids. I was being your wife. I was like managing this house, and that gave me like a greater purpose to it. And he kind of takes that and is like, okay, that's what I need to do. Meanwhile, she is struggling through the sexist, patronizing world of, you know, women in the ad agency.
I guess like in any workplace,
or
really.
any workplace. Yeah. I mean, there's very few women. She has this sketchy, sexist boss who's always like slightly coming on to her. But she's good at her job, and there's this like tuna company that sales have been tanking and like no one can figure out like how to advertise this tuna that like people, so the housewives buy it. So of course like she's a former housewife, so they really lean on her, and she has this brilliant idea that they need to cut their costs 50 cents and then do this whole like TV spot that says like, we appreciate you and we know it's hard times, like here's 50 cents off a fucking can of tuna. And it's this great idea. And then she's like fly to LA, and she's also going on all these other trips, and she's home late. You know, she's never home for dinner.
She's kicking butt.
Yeah, she's
in the
doing
job
great.
world.
Yeah, in the job
she's
world.
not kicking butt. Is at home.
Right.
But yeah,
this
go
causes
Carolyn.
Turmoil.
Go Carolyn. Oh
in
yeah,
the
turmoil,
relationship.
and he's upset because he's like, "You're never around. I do everything. You're never here." You know, classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
So then Jack does have the opportunity to get his old job back, I guess. And he like goes into the interview. He gets a babysitter. She comes to the door. Turns out she's like a scary punk. And I'm sorry, like she could have been the best babysitter in the world, but just because she looked a little bit sketchy,
And she was
he
listening to
wouldn't
her
let her
music
do
when
it.
he was like trying to talk to her. So like
Okay,
maybe she can't,
wasn't
like,
great.
pay attention.
But that meant he had to take the kids to the interview, which wasn't like the greatest thing, but provided some good comic moments. Anyway, he goes to try his job out, and he finds out that I really wasn't paying attention.
Here's what happened. I'm not sure because the IMDb synopsis did not even have this part in it. So I like to think it didn't exist. I guess his like creepy Jeffrey Tambor character was like lying to the heads of the company and saying that like Jack and his buddies who got laid off like were like embezzling money or something, and like so they got in trouble, and so he doesn't stand for that, and he's like, he's a liar, and then
he's like, I'm not going back there.
I'm not coming back, and then storms out or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, talk to my kid like that again, I'll like fucking kick you in the face or something.
Then his stay-at-home mom friends take him out like to dinner in this male strip club, classic scene. We'll talk about it later. And then he gets home and I forgot. Oh, and then he gets home and wants to call his wife, who's in California.
The kids want to.
I want to talk to mom. And it's 3 hours behind there, so they're like, sure, let's do it. And they call, and the creepy boss dude answers her room telephone and is like really rude, and
She doesn't even know he's there.
Yeah.
She's taking a bubble bath
and drinking a milkshake.
Yeah.
Seems
Interesting.
awesome.
Interesting combo.
Yeah, interesting combo. Might want to try it.
I said I don't think it's awesome
Yeah.
because I don't want to be like cold in the bath. I want to be warm and toasty. Maybe a hot milkshake. What's that? Hot cocoa? I don't know.
Sure,
I
love
like
milkshake.
not in the hot bath. I don't know. I'm torn. But yeah, super sleaze answers the phone. Is like, who's this? Like, who do you think's fucking calling her phone? It's her husband. You know, he's met her husband. He's raced
really weird.
against him in a weird relay race with obstacles, and is just a dick. So then. And then she comes out of the bathroom and she's like, who's on the phone? And he's like, I don't know. Prank caller. Like, what the? I was so mad at him. Fucking Ron. And so then Jack's mad and upset. And then Carolyn comes home. I guess, again, we zoned out at this part. But I guess Joan, the woman who we had the dream about, comes over because she hears that the wife might be having an affair or whatever from the friend that was there. And like jumps in his bed to like try to seduce him or something.
Well, it wasn't as like overt as that. Like he's like, I need to take a shower. He's painting. He's like his response to his wife maybe cheating was to redecorate the house. He goes to Sears and does like a whole new bedroom set, which their bedroom set was pretty bad.
It's pretty
and, like,
stupid. Yeah.
It's really gross. Needed an upgrade, let's say. And decides to paint the house brown. Like, I don't like the inside. Weird. Brown. And so the kids are like painting each other. It's pretty funny. And then this lady comes over, I think trying to attempt to like scoop him up in the rebound. And he's like, I gotta take a shower, like stay down here, have a snack or whatever, have a drink. And she brings up this bottle of like Jack Daniels with like 2 glasses and is like, oh, you redid like the bedroom? Cool. And is like just laying on the bed like kind of casually. She doesn't like take off her clothes or anything.
Well, the IMDb synopsis totally
But he
slanted
doesn't know
that.
what's going on outside there either, because
Just like what happened with Carolyn.
or he does. He comes out and he's like, he does see that, but then goes right back in the bathroom, is trying to talk himself out of like having an affair because he knows that could happen, and he knows his wife maybe had one, so he's trying to figure out if it's like what he wants to do. Anyway, wife comes home. She's like, bitch, get out of my bedroom. What are you doing here? Takes her place on the bed, and then he's kind of surprised and like, what are you doing? And they confront each other, and then just both kind of talk about like what's going on.
and then decide. Yeah, and then they come to like an agreement. I guess they both get their jobs back. Not that hers was in jeopardy, but Jack gets offered her job back. I guess she did threaten to like leave her job because she didn't want to be sexually harassed. But she ends up keeping it, so hopefully that worked out. And then they watch her commercial at the end and freeze frame on the happy family, basically. So I guess they got childcare, but they don't talk about it, which is fine.
Would love to know the deets. Was it a daycare? Was it a nanny? How much did it cost? Just kidding.
Was it Joan? Was it sexy Joan? I don't know.
But yes, sweet movie, like great kind of look at the other side. Some great hijinks that Michael Keaton goes through, and in general, like a lot of great 80s stuff that we are going to talk about. But so my scenes I remember as a little kid from this movie were the vacuum part, where the vacuum like has a mind of its own and then goes and eats the little kid's blankie. And this is when like the little boy Alex is cooking chili on the stove. The washing machine explodes, and then the runaway vacuum. So it's like all this like to do, but for some reason I remember that vacuum part. And then he is changing. He has to take the kids to the job interview because the babysitter who shows up is super sketchy, and the little girl has to go to the bathroom. And I don't know if he doesn't have baby wipes or what's going on, but he's drying her little naked butt against the hand dryer in the men's room. And the kids had like taken all the toilet paper off the things, and it's just like madness in there. And for some reason, I remember that scene as well. Mm-hmm. So good to see them replayed. Yeah. I probably haven't seen this movie since I was like 5 years old.
5? What? No.
Yeah. No, a long time.
Probably 7.
I want to say like we own this movie maybe as like a copy one.
I would never know.
And it got copied over, and maybe we only had a couple scenes.
I'm telling you, Thanksgiving, or maybe. Here's what it could have been: Vacation in New Hampshire, another movie that Dad rented, or I'm pretty sure it was just on TV. Mike and Dad stumbled upon it, and then they were like laughing, and Kathy and Mom thought it was so funny that they thought that movie was funny because it's like, see, you guys, if you had a terrible way to, that would be you, something like that. I'll ask Carol tomorrow; she'll confirm. Yeah. No, she won't. She doesn't remember anything, but love you, Carol. But I don't have any memories of it, so you're on your own. That's fine for this one.
That's mine. Okay, so favorite scenes. What do you got?
Pretty much anytime Kenny was on the screen, which is not very often. They didn't give him as much screen time as I would have preferred. He's this like quirky the little boy who's like hilarious. He wears one of those like Viking hats all the time, or helmets or whatever, that like fat opera singers used to wear as like in cartoons, and then has like a sword that he like sticks down his pants to keep, and he just like says like weird things, and I just love him. Like I know we would be friends, you know. I just know it.
Adorable little towhead.
So too. I thought the grocery store scene was pretty funny. I when he left the kids in the grocery car, Sweetie was like, "Don't do that. Sweetie told me not to." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right," because.
Okay, well, you have to go back. So when I would go to the grocery store with Sweetie Jr.,
she would not do what he
Sweetie
did,
here.
Basically.
So sometimes, and this is only in like the produce section, you know, you're like, and I like when you have a baby in the cart that like clips into the baby carriage, like that's like basically your shopping cart too. So I'd put everything below the shopping cart. There's this like little, the baby carriage. So that would be the baby and the carriage like all in one, let's say. So I'm like shopping for produce, and I'm putting stuff like underneath the baby carriage, but then I'm like, oh shit, I need avocados. So I'd like run over and get the avocados instead of taking the baby with me every time. I'd leave the baby in a center spot and like run around to different things in the produce. I don't know why that seems more efficient now. Saying that out loud, that seems silly, but
it wasn't like she wasn't that far away from her. She didn't like go to like another aisle, but like it just made me nervous because I'm like always suspicious of like. I've seen too many Lifetime movies. Like, you can't leave the baby in the thing.
What is that movie? It's not a Lifetime one, but it's like...
Isn't that how...
It was a book. It was like...
Face on the Milk Carton. No. Isn't that what happened?
No. It's a book with... And then the movie was with Michelle Pfeiffer, and the little boy gets stolen from a grocery store, but then they do find him when he's like 12 years old, and he comes back...
Message in a Bottle?
Deep End of the Ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he gets stolen from a grocery store. And there was a couple Lifetime movies and Face on the Milk Carton that were like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was a whole panic in the 80s and 90s about like kidnapping.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. That was just like a thing.
No, but yeah. But that scene in the grocery store was like wow, egregious error there. He just like... he went like a mile away.
Yeah.
Like, and he was in the midst of like getting his groceries checked
Yeah.
out. Why did he have to? Oh, because he looks in the car and his like kid is not, and it's some other kid in the cart.
right.
That was funny. And then he like picks up that kid and is like, "Ah, find my Kenny,
Yeah.
Kenny," and then finally finds him, comes back, and then the baby's gone.
Right.
I didn't even think she could walk.
But where did the baby go?
We don't know
She
where the
was in
baby went.
top part of
How
the
did she
cart.
get down from
I
there?
don't
Did
know.
somebody did that woman steal her
Yeah, I
because
think
she
so.
saw
She
her in
knew
there
who she
alone?
was,
Okay,
yes.
Joan. It was crazy, Joan. But yeah, I enjoyed the grocery store scene. There's just like so much chaos at a grocery store when you don't have 3 children. So I can't imagine
I
what
loved,
that's
and
like.
this isn't like that anymore, but maybe this is a really 80s thing or a supermarket sweep thing, but grocery stores where it had just like perfect pyramids of like cans and produce and stuff, which is just like
And-
for physical comedy, like running
Right.
into and stuff goes
Which I feel
everywhere.
like it
kind of a
always
thing.
is. Again, episodes of Full House, similar to that. There's an episode of Rugrats. Like it's just like it's a comedic
Yeah, it's a device.
formula or something. Like you stack up a big thing
Yep.
that's going to fall down at
Gonna
some
fall
point to much
Hilarious.
laughter. Although who stacks grape? There was grapefruits
Yeah.
stacked precariously in a pyramid, and then man, that made me uneasy.
Sometimes cylindrical fruit, when it is sort of just like haphazardly put in the produce, and you do take like one lemon and some just go like, or
bad.
apples,
It's bad.
they just come like
I had a
careening
situation.
out of there.
I had a situation
know.
this weekend.
Happened to
I was
me.
taking the bags of onions, and I was like, "This one looks rotten," and then I moved it, and then like 5 fell out of the thing, and I was like, "Whoa!"
So do you pick those all up and put them back? And you're like, sorry,
Yeah.
the people who buy this that it fell on the floor.
Well, they're in bags, so it wasn't like the end of the world.
I think that like single apples
Oh.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean, you got to pick them up. But
Yeah.
don't you feel bad?
I mean, you're
Like,
supposed to
someone's gonna
wash your
take this
fruit. They
dirty
have
apple.
signs that are like, "Don't forget to wash your fruit."
I know. But
God.
I just feel bad that someone's going to buy a
No
floor
one
apple.
feels bad for you when they put the floor apple. They don't think about you. Stop thinking about other people.
Okay. Yeah, that was a great scene. One of my favorite scenes is that he gets really into soap operas, which someone who stays at home all the time, you will. Here's a little personal anecdote. When I was 13 years old, I had this summer job where I worked from like 9 to 1 p.m. and I'd get home just in time for soap operas. And just for this one summer, I was obsessed with Days of Our Lives. Like, had to speed bike home to get home and see like what is up with Stefano and Marlena. I was like obsessed with it. So I like really related to that scene where at first he's like, "Who watches this junk? It's terrible." And then the next scene is him being like, "Oh my God, Kevin's the father. Like, what are you doing?" He's like talking to the screen. And then the best part about it is that the kids all know about the soap opera plot too. And little Alex is like, "Oh, like, isn't Kevin the father?" And he's like, "No, he had a vasectomy." And he's like, "Kevin's a skunk," the little boy.
I love it.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was-
funny.
it was so
Lindy
funny.
stuff. And then he's like getting calls from his
Yeah.
friends, and they're like talking about it too. It's good. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. I love the male strip club scene. So, like I said, his stay-at-home mom friends take him to the strip club to like cheer him up because it's what they would do. But obviously, and it's like these guys in this like space outfits, like astronauts, and then they like zip down their thing, and they're very like long. They look like Mark Hamill from Star Wars movies, and they have like these silver shiny G-strings, and he like puts the dollar in there.
Good sport.
I
He's a
love
good
that
sport
stuff.
about it. He wasn't
was
like
fun.
he was a little like scared, but it wasn't like gay panic
Yeah.
scared. So it was
The women are
pretty good for the
freaking
80s.
out, and yeah, that was funny.
yeah, that was a great scene. Any other standout scenes?
Oh, I love when he's kind of just a hot mess, like not
Yeah.
wearing the same shirt all the time. He grows a beard, and little Alex comes in. He's like, "My grilled cheese is cold, and the cheese isn't melted at all in the middle." And he's like, "Give me that." And he's ironing, and he takes his iron, he just like puts it down on the sandwich to like warm it up. And Alex takes it, and he's like, "Okay."
It's a
And, like,
panini
eats
press,
it. Yeah.
basically. Smart,
Brilliant.
genius.
Brilliant.
He is an engineer, so
Yeah.
what do we expect?
Right.
There was a Halloween scene, which Sweetie and I always love a Halloween scene. Here's what I have to say about 80s Halloween. Always really doing the least. 80s costumes. Not a lot of pizzazz in these movies that we've seen anyways. It's very like, and this is a pipe cleaner on my head, which is an angel's halo, and I'm wearing sneakers. And it's like that, or like a bank robber, or like a convict Jack was.
I don't get the
cowboy
convict.
clown.
Why you would want to be a convict?
They're just like-
what's fun about a convict?
Because they're the great quote. They're just they don't want to spend too much time on it because it's like a movie, so they're just like random costumes go. Like I don't think they're like thinking about it. It's not like hocus pocus at the Mrs. Potts and the.
I mean, I guess it would have been more. It would have been more fun. The wife was supposed to be a prison warden, and they were supposed to be like a couple's costume. Yeah, so like that's why it also didn't kind of make sense.
Well, I didn't get. He had like a Frankenstein cut on his face. I'm like, you can't have a Frankenstein cut and be a convict. Like those don't go together.
Yeah, it was misplaced makeup, but yeah, pretty okay. Like not that great Hollywood scene because also the kids didn't have that great costumes.
Cowboy, the baby was a clown. It was like dumb. But yeah, I love a Halloween scene though. Can't go wrong. Except you could in the 80s.
Wait a minute. Yes, you could.
And E.T. is the other movie I was thinking of where like, wow, not a lot of effort. Like
that
hobos.
that was one of the costumes.
Yeah. What?
E.T.
Oh yeah, and then this one lady was a life-size E.T., which I never want to see again in my life.
Pretty good.
What? Yeah, but that is too big. Like you can't have a person-sized E.T. walking around the town. What is this? It was too much. It was like the opposite of my fear of puppets. Is like when things that are small are actually big. I don't like that.
Yeah,
I'm not into that.
It was weird. Agreed.
Blech. There's a very scary puppet show thing happening right now on Netflix called like The House or something. It's like an adult movie made with puppets, and they're so upsetting. Like just their look. I'm sure it's a great movie, but can't get past the puppets. It's not for me. It's not for me. Yeah. What else?
I want to talk about a couple of the 80s things that I enjoyed. So there's a whole scene around him trying to figure out how to do laundry. Now, granted, I didn't do laundry in the 80s. I was too young. So I don't really remember what it was about. However, I am old enough to remember when there was pretty much exclusively powder laundry detergent. And now that seems like a crazy fucking thing. I'm sure they still exist.
I mean,
there is still powder.
You just like poured it in, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to like do anything special to it. He gets nuts because he's like, oh, his thing is like, oh, fabric softener. You have to like wait halfway through the cycle to put that in. I'm just going to save a step and mix it all together. Right. Dummy. And so he's like mixing the powder,
like a chemistry
the
experiment.
Fabric softener, and then he like squirts in the spray and wash at the end. I'm like, that's not going to do anything. He's an idiot.
He didn't know what he was doing, but he had like a front-loading washer, which also now seems like crazy. How does that work? It seems like it would leak all the time. The water, coming in this way. No.
I feel like I've seen front-loaded. Those like Whirlpool ones are front-loaded.
Yeah, maybe there is, but I always think of stuff as top now. Did you fart? Yes. It was the baby. The baby has been farting.
Don't worry.
All
Oh my
night,
god, so stinky. Wow. Okay, so but that scene where things are chaotic, we didn't talk about how he has maybe like 5 service people come that day, and we don't know why, and they're like exterminator, cable person, furnace guy, like really weird.
Yeah,
and
that was
but
weird.
but my favorite part of that scene is when like the kid Alex is like takes the furnace guy down in the basement, and then the washing machine's on the fritz, and is like he's like, Dad, and the sweet little like furnace guy like protects the kid.
He jumps into his arms and like hugs him.
It was the cutest thing I ever saw. That guy's in the Sweetie Club.
Yeah, totally.
Induct him now. I loved it.
Really, really cute.
Good stuff.
Also want to talk about carpools. So in the beginning, he gets picked up by like 3 other guys who work at the company with him. And it's this pretty bitchin' car with like a red interior. Also, remember that? My first car ever had one of those. It was white, flip lights, red interior.
She returned the car because...
No, I did not return the car. It was a stick shift.
I'm
and I was
sure we've
very
already talked about this.
optimistic
We've
about
talked about this
driving
before.
it. Couldn't do it though. So then I gave it to my mom to drive for a while, and then she sold it.
Also, red interior was in Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah.
The car that they
Yes.
get in
Yes.
that what's his face steals.
I don't know like what kinds.
It was the 80s, I don't know, Buicks. I don't know. It was just like a thing.
Carpool,
80s.
cool concept.
Red.
So obviously now no one's going into work, number one. B, no one drives together because of COVID, right? So this is completely off the table. But however, prior to COVID, was anyone carpooling still?
Sure.
And I don't think so.
What?
You think people
Totally.
still carpool?
I don't think we were a good. I mean, we have a great public transportation system. that goes pretty far out into the suburbs. But like I think back then it was probably more
Detroit,
common
I don't know what
to
the deal is there.
probably not the greatest.
But it seems like everyone wants to drive themselves and have control over their schedule is what I'm thinking.
I mean, like I don't know. I think probably guys did it a lot because they don't care about. They're all working at the same place. They probably all have the same schedule. So,
but I mean, what a great concept in the sense that everyone pitches in for gas, so you save so much on gas by just having people ride in your car,
and you help the environment, sweetie.
And you help the environment. And here in Boston, we have HOV lane, which is the carpool lane, and that was always like a kind of a cool thing to me when we would drive up to Boston as kids, because I'd be like, oh my god, how do they know? Like, how do they know there's 2 people in the car instead of 1?
But it's like not even like it could be like you and your mom.
Yeah,
like, that's not a carpool.
I
I'm
know.
just riding with my mom, and
Right.
so it's like it's just like not driving by yourself lane.
Exactly.
Basically.
Like 2 people, like does that really count? But you could use it with 2 people, right?
Yeah.
But there is a cop at the beginning of it sometimes, yeah, who I guess would like say don't go.
He pulls if he sees. Because like you kind of have to go a little slow to get into it, and so if he sees you, he's going to pull over, and then he'll probably give you a citation.
So as a kid, my brain was always like, well, this would be so easy. All you do is you get a mannequin, and you put it in the front seat with you, and you're like, there's my
people
buddy.
have done that. I remember like a newspaper article about that.
Pretty cool. And granted, like the HOV lane, like sometimes it's faster, but sometimes it really isn't because
you take a chance. You take a chance on it.
Too many people are in it or something. So
and it's like single file, and then you're like in between the barrier thing, and it's like kind of stressful.
I didn't like it. If it was crowded, I never loved it. But anyway, HOV lane, guys, carpools, do they still exist? Let us know. What else? Okay, I have one more anecdote story, and then I'm done.
Sweet.
We tried to think of other gender reversal movies, gender role reversal movies, and Tootsie came up, which we haven't done yet, but that examines, a man kind of figuring out what it's like to be a woman in like the acting world.
To extreme like measures of like was passing as a woman.
Right. So that's interesting. We'll watch that eventually. And then 2 we've already done. 3 Men and a Baby.
Of course.
It's always around like kid stuff, I feel like, if you're talking
or
about
mom traditional mom role stuff.
Right. Men doing stuff women would do. And then Junior. So a man, we kind of complained about that one, how it took it like again to the extreme of him, like the way they portrayed women was just like way over the top and kind of like it offended us. So interesting. So I guess like by those were all Junior was in the 90s, so they were still doing those at that time, but I think they have kind of largely dropped off Hollywood's radar, thank God. And last but not least, yes, I have one more story. So in this movie, he gets laid off. The kids are all like waiting for him to come home. They have this special dinner, KFC, waiting to eat. And the kids, but the mom's like, don't say anything to dad. We're just going to be like really sweet to him today. He's had a hard day, but they know that he's been laid off. Mm-hmm. But the little boy, like Alex goes, or I think it's Kenny actually, like, sorry you got fired.
Love
and
you,
the
Kenny.
mom's like, laid off. And I have this memory of when Carol got laid off. And I remember I also, as a kid, like did not understand the difference. I knew my mom lost her job. I didn't know like the difference between someone getting fired and someone getting laid off, right? Why would you? I was like
why would
7
you know?
years old. And so I'm riding in the back seat of our Caravan with my friend Catherine Hurd, and I'm like talking to her, gabbing to her, as Sweetie would,
classic Sweetie,
Gabby over here. I guess I always have been. And I was like, my mom got fired this week. My mom was in the front seat. Carol was in the front seat and goes, I got laid off.
Or was she driving or she in the...
No, she's in the passenger
Oh my
seat.
God.
And like she heard me say that and like had to correct me, and I think was like so offended because she didn't want like Catherine to know that she like didn't get...
Ask her about that.
Like,
That's funny.
like Catherine
What
would know
job
what
was
the
it?
difference was.
Mom
We'll
got laid off? I
Yeah.
don't remember mom getting laid off.
Oh yeah, I mean she was in the newspaper industry, so that happened a lot. So that I'll like remember that all the time, and whenever someone like uses the word laid off, that's always what I think of. Like, it's not fired, like it was not out of your control. Like, but I think my mom had to like tell me what that actually meant because I was like, I don't know. Funny, man.
Well, yeah, because fire is usually like you did something
Usually
wrong,
wrong, yeah.
so you're fired.
Yeah, you cheated, you stole, whatever.
Right. But laid off is like we don't have enough money. We have to let
Yeah.
people go.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a difference.
There's a
but
huge
there is
difference.
still like some kind of stigma with like losing your job, which like because I lost my job from being laid off, and it was like kind of like you're like, do you tell people? I always tell people, just like Sweetie, I have the problem where I can't stop telling strangers about my life. So
Catherine Hurd was not a stranger.
all right, just people gossip, if you will. And so yeah, I told everybody. So I didn't get a job for like 6 months. They're like, don't hire that crazy girl talking about getting laid off. Jesus Christ.
Don't talk to her.
But Amazon hired me, so don't worry.
Look at her now.
3 years later, here I am. But yeah, great little flick. It's not like an award-winning film, but it sated my appetite for like a cozy 80s family movie.
Yeah, loved it.
Loved that. Yeah, good times. All right. Well, thanks guys for listening. You can find us on Twitter at the Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye. Ron is a total rape artist.